This is an AI-generated podcast based on the article From a West Virginia Sheep Farm to a Million Disciples, How Mark Rowan is Equipping the Equippers, written by April. The article link is in the show notes. Mark, welcome to Kingdom Factor Collective. Really glad you're here today.
Thanks so much, April. Really excited to be here and just share what God's been doing.
So let's start at the beginning, because your story has this really striking through line. A sheep farm in West Virginia, a camp called Psalm 23 Camp, getting saved on Peter's Mountain, and then eventually building a company called Sheep Feast. I mean, that's almost too clean to be coincidence. Can you walk us through that?
Yeah, looking back, it's almost hard to believe how connected it all is. I grew up on that sheep farm, same land my father was born on. And when I was around 8 years old, my family started a youth camp on the property, Psalm 23 Camp. And it was right there, on the side of Peter's Mountain, that I gave my life to Jesus. I had no idea at the time what that moment would set in motion, The communications degree, the career in marketing and web development, my wife Jenny, we've been married over 25 years now, and eventually Sheep Feast. The name comes directly from what Jesus said to Peter, "Feed my sheep." That's the central theme, disciples being made in the workplace.
That's incredible. And Sheep Feast launched in 2022, but the roots go back further than that, right? What was the original vision, and how did it evolve into what it is now?
Right, so it really started around 2018. I was exploring how to help authors and content creators take their books and knowledge and turn them into online resources. And over time, that vision kind of crystallized into something bigger. Because, the real problem for most small business owners and ministry leaders isn't the content, it's the chaos. 5 calendars, multiple email accounts, social platforms, billing tools, scheduling software, it's a lot. So Sheep Feast became a platform built around 3 pillars: feed, lead, and tend. Feed is membership and course delivery, getting your content into people's hands. Lead is communication, email, messaging, outreach, and tend is the CRM side, tracking relationships over time, caring for the flock. Our hope is to simplify the technology so leaders can actually focus on the work that matters, which is discipleship.
I love that framework, feed, lead, tend. It's very intentional. And speaking of intentional, you have something you call the 2,000 cubit rule. Can you unpack that? Because it sounds like it's more than just a catchy phrase for your team.
Yeah, it's really at the core of how we operate. So, in Joshua 3, the Israelites are about to enter the Promised Land, and the instruction is to stay 2,000 cubits back from the Ark of the Covenant. Don't crowd it. Make room for God to move first. And for us, that's the daily posture. Because here's the thing, you can be a Christian doing business without actually being led by God in your business. The strategy looks good, the hustle is real, but if you're just asking God to bless what you've already decided to do, that's a different thing entirely. One instruction from the Lord can go much further than 40 hours of work, potentially in the wrong direction. Does that make sense? It's not about slapping faith-based on your brand. It's walking day to day and learning to be in tune with what He wants to do.
That lands. And I think what strikes me is you're not just talking about this philosophically. Your biggest goal actually came out of that kind of listening posture. Tell me about the 1 million disciples goal, because the origin of that number is kind of remarkable.
So here's what happened. In 2025, I was in a journaling and prayer session using a framework from a book by a close friend and senior strategic advisor. The book is called Wake Up at Work, Hearing God in the Office. And the question on the page was simple. Jesus, what's your big dream for Sheep Feast? And the answer was immediate. 1 million disciples. And look, we obviously rolled that out carefully because not everyone would understand it right away. But for us, we knew exactly what it meant. Jesus walked with 12 disciples, and through that model, the whole world was changed. We're not trying to personally touch 1 million people, or partnering with faith-based business leaders who are already doing that work and equipping them to do it better. And right now, the businesses and ministries on Sheep Feast have already influenced more than 200,000 people. 1/4 of the way there, and still early.
200,000 already? That's not a small number. And I heard you've already purchased the domain for 1 billion disciples?
I have, because with God, all things are possible, right?
I love that. Okay, last thing I want to ask you about, and this feels like the most personally applicable piece for a lot of leaders listening. You talk about working from rest, not toward it, because grind culture is real and it sneaks into Christian communities just as easily as anywhere else. What does that actually look like in practice?
Yeah, I think about Mary and Martha in Luke 10. Martha was doing genuinely good work. Nobody's knocking the work, but the posture was off. Mary chose the better thing by sitting at the feet of Jesus first, and everything else flowed from there. And I think for a lot of us, we measure success by the revenue, the products, the accomplishments. But if you measure that against eternity, there is zero return if you don't have Jesus at the center of it. So if we're going to grind at anything, let it be making sure we spend our moments and our days connected with Him. One day in His presence is like 1,000 elsewhere. Making room for God can absolutely transform your life and your business instead of trying to prove you belong there through your own efforts.
That's such a good word to close on. Mark, this has been a really rich conversation, from the sheep farm to the 2,000-cubit posture to 1 million disciples and counting. Thank you for being on the show and for just being so open about how faith actually drives a strategy, not just decorates it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, April. Really appreciate it.
If you want to learn more about Sheep Feast and how Mark and his team are equipping Christian business leaders, check out the show notes for the full article link and the link to sheepfeast.com. We'll see you next time on Kingdom Factor Collective.